And thank you. And so I'm Gabrielle. We have Richard and Travis, Wendy, and Whitney on with us today. And our executive director, Lauren, actually is on maternity leave right now. So she will not be joining us this evening, but we are wishing her well and look forward to having her back in our space with us soon, hopefully, but also not too soon because we're excited for her. So yeah, that is the UAC team. And so, like I said, we were founded in 1997, about 25 years ago. And so we've been doing this for a while now, and we are excited to be celebrating our 25th year, our 25th anniversary. We've got a lot of fun things planned actually for this year. And so it will culminate in October. I want to say a little bit more, but we are looking forward to sharing that information soon. And so we definitely are excited to be in this year because we are relaunching our public art collector program as well. And so I don't want to get too much into that and stray away, but we've been doing a lot this year. And so we're really excited. And in 5 years ago, we started our strategic plan that had 3 initiatives to basically expand the scope of public art, expand the reach of public art, and increase the visibility across our neighborhoods, our different areas in the community. Because after doing a lot of internal review and getting a lot of community feedback, we realized, even by looking at our strategic map that we have on our website, that our public art in Memphis was being kind of allocated to specific points in the city. And so we wanted to make sure that we were doing it equitably, distributing public art throughout our neighborhoods to make sure that we're all equally getting these wonderful, wonderful projects into our communities. And so through that, we have a report that you can also find on our website. We did an internal review about our 3 years into this 5-year plan. And so you can read more there, and I can provide that link later on at the end of this chat too. And so I want to talk a little bit about our process before we delve in, and I hand it over to my wonderful project managers that will be taking over, Richard and Travis, to tell you more about these calls. The process overall, to keep it unbiased, involves a selection committee. And so our selection committee throughout this process is appointed through a cohort of artists who have participated in past events, people who are important to the specific project at hand, community stakeholders, different representatives from neighborhoods. And so this committee is who identifies the details on the proposal, make sure that people are following the rules, the guidelines, the instructions at hand, and then they are also in charge of selecting the finalists at the end of the process. And so we start off with where we are right now, our call to artists, and then we select 3 finalists. The finalists are asked to develop a request for proposal, and so you will be asked to do this if you are selected as a finalist. And then we will have the selection committee convene to decide, pick who their finalists are through a finalist presentation that happens. And then after that, we will have our final artist to be commissioned for the project, and then you will go into your schematic and your final design process. And so with that, I will lead it to Travis and Richard to take over. They will go into detail now about the calls that we have at hand.
All right, thank you. So like Gabrielle said, like Travis is going to say, we're going to be repeating a lot of information tonight. And that's just to help you and to answer any questions that you may have. One of the things that we will be repeating is that there is going to be 2 calls, and we encourage you to apply to both. You might have an interest in one, but I will say that they both share similar items as far as being bus shelter artistic enhancements, but they are in two different locations, and those independent communities demand different details from those projects. So that's just something to keep in mind. Both of those projects have a budget of $65,000, and the three finalists that are selected for each of the projects will receive a $500 honorarium for their design proposal. So that's something to think about. That's something to think about. Oh, wait. Can everyone hear me fine? Am I breaking up?
You're fine.
Okay, good. All right. So let's get into the details for the locations for Hickory Hill. All right. So most importantly, the locations will be two bus stops at the corner of Winchester and Mendenhall, and then two other bus stops at the corner of Hickory Hill and Winchester. These have been chosen and identified by MATA and the residents as high traffic areas for transit spots. The Hickory Hill neighborhood has expressed strong desire to refresh and enhance these shelters in their community. The artist designs may not alter or weaken the shelter structural integrity. So you'll see down here, there's a map that identifies where the bus shelters will be dropped. They're not there right now, but MATA will contribute those. And this should give you just a layout of that space. These spaces were chosen not only as frequent high traffic areas by MATA, but in relationship to Gestalt Schools, who is a partner on this project, this just makes sense for it to be in the same area, same vicinity as the school, as New Direction Church, and those landmarks, those other landmarks that fall on Winchester. Next slide. UAC and the city of Memphis, in partnership with Gestalt Community Schools, are seeking an artist to create artistic enhancements to 4 total bus shelters that speak to Gestalt's definition of a thriving community: education, community revitalization, economic development, housing, health and wellness, financial empowerment, and social emotional support. So this is what's specific to Hickory Hill. This is what the community is looking for to be represented in the final design of the artistic bus shelter. Next slide. The selection committee and Hickory Hill residents have expressed interest in artistic enhancements that, and also please note that these enhancements should also be low. We'll talk a little bit more about the maintenance, but maintain visibility of approaching buses while providing protection from the elements, pay tribute to the name of the community using the word Hickory Hill, represent diversity by featuring residents' faces, families, cultures, celebrate Hickory Hill's regrowth and community pillars, reflect the spirit of Hickory Hill, which has been identified as vibrant and lively, complement and consider nearby existing public art, enhance the experience of waiting for the bus, for a bus stop, and an enjoyable, practical experience. So those are things that I want y'all to think about when considering this project, and not only for Hickory Hill, but also in Mallory Heights. What I want you to consider and think about it, not only are we enhancing the experience for people who are using the bus shelter, but also enhancing the experience for people who engage with the community, right? We want to help encourage and revitalize that energy, that community pride when it comes to this artwork and when it comes to what's being represented on the 4 bus stops. All right, next slide. The commissioned artists will be selected based on the strength of their qualifications submitted, ability to adhere to deadlines and work within the stated budget. Applicants are expected to have or collaborate / subcontract with an appropriate vendors to meet the necessary technical capabilities to design and install such projects, including providing maintenance instructions. This is important for us because though we really want you to be as creative as possible, we still want to be able to maintain your work because Memphis has various weather conditions, whether it's raining one day, snowing one day, you name it, we have it. So those are things we want to keep in mind. And like I said previously, we want to have low maintenance. The artists will work with UAC program managers. That's as far as these two projects. I'll be working with Hickory Hill, and Travis will be working with Mallory Heights to coordinate community engagement efforts. This engagement should help inform the final design. Being able to know that this is for the community and knowing exactly what they want, that in community engagement is going to be very important. The finished project must require little to no regular maintenance, like I said. Final artwork should complement characteristics and neighborhood identity on the site. The artist selected shall be expected to collaborate closely with the site engineers, landscape architects, and necessary parties for a successful installation for the project. And commissioned artists are permitted to work with outside contractors to fabricate this actual work of art. So this is to let you know that though we want to be able to maintain this work and make it last as long as we can, we want you to keep in mind that we want to have a low maintenance requirement when it comes to those things, and also that we encourage you to if you don't have access to working with the necessary engineers or people to kind of help solidify your ideas and your designs, is that we can help provide that. And if you have that access to those platforms, then that's good for you. So next slide. We'll go a little bit over just the bus shelter measurements and specs. This is what that looks like. So we found it important to give you as the artist a visual to see what that might look like, because Memphis has so many different bus shelters and bus stops. This will be the one that we'll be working with, Toller Bus Shelter, and you can kind of see the designs, and all of these specific designs and all of these measurements will be available on the call. We wanted to make sure that y'all have that visual of what that looks like. Next slide. Note, the actual structure of the Toller Bus Shelter is not to be modified. It may be enhanced with artistic elements and features, right? So we're not necessarily building a whole new bus shelter, but we're adding some type of artistic enhancements, possibly to the side panels, to enhance the shelter rather than affecting its structural integrity. So one thing we want you to keep in mind, which we'll talk a little bit more in advance with the finalists, is that the enhancement should not impede on ADA accessibilities, right? And we have a little blurb about what's important about the ADA accessibility, which is important to read up on, and we'll give you access about that. Also, UAC will assist you and give you access to a structural engineer to assist you with your design. So we stress that because we want you to be as creative as possible, but as far as just setting yourself apart and having a high chance to be chosen, but also keep in mind that whatever you think of, we can find a way to bring it to a reality or meet you in the middle as far as what your design expectations are. All right, next slide. Here are some previous examples that were done on previous Toller bus shelters. One here in Whitehaven, and that's a vinyl application. And then here in Soulsville, you can see that there's a three-dimensional relief type artwork where you can see that it's kind of been machined and actually applied with some structural engineering. So those are two possible options to kind of get your mind and your ideas kind of flowing as far as what you might want to do and how you might want to contribute to the bus shelter. And so I'm gonna hand it off to my coworker, fellow program manager, Travis, and he's gonna talk a little bit more about the Mallory Heights artistic bus enhancements.
Hey, how's everybody doing today? So appreciate that, Richard, for you passing it over to me. So for this call, like we said, they pretty much really are identical to each other than the fact that they are specifically in two different locations. So for the Mallory Heights call, UAC in Memphis has been partnered with, UAC is partnered with the City of Memphis and the Mallory Heights CDC, and is looking for artists to create artistic enhancements for these bus shelters as well. The main difference, like I said, being is that these will be in a different location, so the site specifics are a little bit different. These sites are to be at the four main anchor points or considered entryways into the neighborhood of Mallory Heights, those being Bell and Florida Street, Bell and 3rd, Mallory and Florida, and Mallory and 3rd. These sites were chosen and identified by the residents of the neighborhood. The Mallory Heights neighborhood has expressed a strong desire to refresh and enhance these shelters in the community and address the needs, focusing on 6 key pillars of the neighborhood. That is to reduce blight and vacancy, improve housing, improve local capacity and engage residents, build more stability in the neighborhood, improve local opportunities, and improve the quality of life for the residents, such as the transit, because in Mallory Heights, there is a big bus transient population out there. So we're really looking to help with that. If you go to the next slide for me, Gabriel. Now, with this, the selection committee has expressed the interest in these key factors with the designs from all artists to maintain the visibility and approaching buses while providing protection from the elements. So most of these new toddler shelters have a perforated base on them or on each side that helps protect from the sun, as well allow airflow through for these harsh Memphis weather that we all know like we're experiencing right now. So they want to keep those elements while at the same time adding to them. They like to include lighting if possible and comfortable seating for bus riders, focus on practical features such as hooks and grocery bags due to the fact that a lot of these shelters are centered around the shopping center or Southgate shopping area and other stores that people go to daily. And also include possible information about the bus system and the schedule on these rides, on these bus shelters for transits. Feature imagery of Mallory Heights history and culture, i.e. parks, muscle car community, because they have a big community of car meets out there where people like to gather together, barbershops, the historical Southgate shopping center, and just the walkability of the area. And also include representing faces and families of the Mallory Heights neighborhood. So in this image right here, this would be actually one of the sites, which is Bells and 3rd, and this is the actual updated toddler shelter that Richard just got through speaking about not so long ago and showing the engineer drawing. This will be one that is used and is currently at this location. The other 3 locations that I mentioned currently do not have a shelter on them, but Matter will provide the shelter and install it for the artists once we have gotten to the point of the artist being selected and being selected from the committee. If you give me the next slide, please. This one is kind of, unfortunately, another run through. Like I said, we're going to repeat a lot of things to try to drive these homes, but the selected artists will be selected based on the strength of their qualifications, submitted, ability to adhere to the deadlines and work within the stated budget. Get that out the way. Applicants are expected to have or collaborate subcontract with appropriate vendors to meet the necessary technical capabilities to design and install such projects. So if you can't physically install it, that's where we come in and help. And at the same time, you don't necessarily have to go through people that we may know. If you have a separate subcontractor that you know that can do the work or help you with that, that is perfectly fine to bring in someone else as part of that, but they will come out of the budget that goes with the project. Necessary type of business, including providing maintenance and instructions. The artists will work with UAC program managers, me and Richard, to coordinate in any community engagement. That could be as simple as you want to go through the neighborhood and talk to certain stakeholders, schools, for instance, in Richard's case, go to Gestalt and talk to teachers and incorporate or bring in students to maybe help with the design or let them be a participant in it. That's where we will come in and help set those up for you guys and make sure all that flows perfectly. The final artwork should complement the characteristics of the neighborhood and identity of the site. The artists selected shall be expected to collaborate closely with the site engineers, landscape architects, and necessary party for successful installation of the project, including residents. Once again, that kind of goes back to the community engagement portion, which we will be more than happy to help with at any point in time. And Gabriel, would you mind going to the next one? Okay.
All right, so we're going to kind of talk about some just helpful hints for artists that are applying. I know, Travis, I definitely agree with this, that this might be one of the most important parts of the process, and this is the first impression, right? Mm-hmm. So going over those helpful hints, let me get my screen right. The letter of interest is a major opportunity to sell why you, as an artist, want to receive the commission. Read the scope of work in the call to artists very carefully, and think about how you can speak to those requests, right? So those the calls are similar. I want y'all to pay attention that the information is different, right? So if you're submitting to both, then make sure that you taper your response and your letter of interest to Mallory Heights, and you taper your letter of interest and your to the call for Hickory Hill, and make sure that they're specific to that. Don't just copy and paste one or the other just to get those opportunities. Think about, how does this project resonate with your practice? Do you have a connection with the site or services provided there? If a specific community, neighborhood, city, etc., is identified in the call, this is an opportunity to connect your art practice to local history and culture. Why is your artwork appropriate for this commission? Specifically, think about that. And most importantly, which we're speaking to y'all as artists, but pull on the community's heartstrings, pull on us as UAC's heartstrings, and really try to find a way to separate yourselves and make yourself stand out from the rest. And by considering those things and considering the needs for the call. Next slide.
Another useful hint will be to reference any prior experience you have, whether the experience be in public art, or if you don't have experience in public art, but you have experience in art installation, or people you may want to bring in on a part of an artist team submitting for one of these calls. Maybe they have a background in installation, or whether it's public art or more of a gallery setting. Those type of things can really, really help bring home the fact that you know what you're doing for the most part, and it drives home also that this is something that you're passionate about, which is what each neighborhood is looking for in the select artist. They want someone who's passionate about their craft, but also passionate about bringing their craft and being cognizant of what's going on in that neighborhood you'll be working in. Both standard CVs and regular resumes are accepted. If possible, please include information about these possible art installations, previous art exhibitions you've had, or any other artistic projects that you may be a part of in the public art. Include an active email, website, phone number on your resume. These are all good resources for community members and selection committee members when they're going through this process to reach out and really see what your work is about. And at this point, going through and submitting for is, that's really what you want to drive home, outside of, like Richard said, putting on those heartstrings. You want to put forward your best foot, let people see what your work looks like, because maybe there's something about the aesthetic and the way that you work that makes them really drive towards you, on top of you being able to write that letter of interest. If possible, we'd like you to keep it to 1 to 2 pages. Although this is still digital and some people do bring in hard copies, we're trying to save the trees, all about the environment. So trying to bring that down. And if you are submitting as a team, reference any previous collaborative projects, anything that you might have done, reference that, because that is another, like I said, a major driving factor to show people, hey, this is someone who's really passionate about what they're doing. This is not just a part-time gig or something they're doing for fun. That everybody, we want to bring in really good art and bring it to these neighborhoods.
All right, and so like I said, we're gonna repeat a lot of things, and so one thing I want you to consider and think about is that we really encourage you to apply to both of these, because what you may be thinking that, oh, these are the same people choosing between. Well, not particularly. Mallory Heights has its own individual community. I mean, not community, but its own committee. And Hickory Hill has its own individual committee. So one committee might, have a connection with your work, a connection with what you submitted, and the other one won't. They both might. So, if you want to increase your odds of being able to have this project and being a contributing artist to this project, then think about and heavily consider to applying to both, and thinking about what they're asking for specifically for those particular calls. We highly recommend you meet with us, program managers, Travis, me, even Wendy, any of us. We'll have our contact information towards the end, but more importantly, with us, particularly if it's Hickory Hill, you can reach out to us. Or if it's Mallory Heights, you can reach out to Travis. And so, definitely want to reach out to us prior to the presentation day. Deliver all materials, models, documents, etc. For presentation in advance, at least two or more days in advance. Coordinate with us regarding your presentation flow, exactly, especially if anything has shifted since submitting the proposal. Arrive at least 5 minutes early near the rear entrance of the UAC, and somebody will be waiting for you. So you'll see a nice smiling person waiting for you to let you in. And it's a 20-minute max presentation. So we have an example breakdown of how you might want to organize your time and dedicate your time, which in no particular order, but you might want to dedicate 5 minutes to talking about your interest in the project, speaking to the scope of work, and speaking particularly to that. You might also want to dedicate 5 minutes to talk about your concept, 5 minutes to 5 minutes for background and speaking directly to how that supports what you're proposing. And then 5 minutes for a conversation with the committee to have a conversation with that. So this will be for those 3 finalists that are selected. This is important information that you want to consider. So most importantly, being in contact with us as the program managers. We'll give you all of the keys that you need to be successful. And so any question, don't be afraid to ask, and abide by these standards by making sure that we have all of our materials and everything prepared before you have to present. Next slide. All right, so let's talk about, if you haven't already, let's talk about how you can get to the actual application. So the link to visit is uacmem.org/call-to-artist. And so you'll see the first 2, you can see Whitney just dropped it in the chat. You can see the first 2 links are Mallory Heights and Hickory Hill. You click either one of those, and then you'll go to the next slide. Then you'll see submit down at the bottom. It'll be a button. That button will then take you to the submittable link. This is a way, this is a platform where we have you submit all your information, and all the information that is asking for you. You can see that down here in the 2 spots for Mallory Heights and Hickory Hill to submit that information. And then you're pretty much done, and you started the process of submitting for this project. So if you please take a deep breath. You got this. We believe in you. We thank y'all for your participation and your interest in this meeting. Thank you for being here. That initiative does not go unnoticed. Please let us know if you have any additional questions. I think this is time now. If you have any questions that we can answer, I think this would be a good time for us to kind of open the floor up for questioning.
I have a question.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me? $65,000 is the top prize, if you will. I think you mentioned at the beginning of the presentation, be prepared to present to both sites, Hickory Hill and Mallory Heights. Is that right?
if you are selected as a finalist, then yes, you will have to present to whatever call that you've been selected as a finalist. So if you have been selected as both, but that's just for the 3 finalists.
Okay. The Mallory Heights project has potentially 3 stops. Is that right?
I couldn't hear you. Could you say that one more time?
The Mallory Heights project has 3 bus stops.
No, sir. It'll be 4 as well. The one on Bells in Florida, I think, or the one I
Just
used.
the one.
Yeah, that one is already installed, but there are 3 other sites that are already selected, and Matter will install those bus shelters once the artist has been selected.
And if the artist is selected, that person will decorate 3 bus stops.
Yeah, all 4.
Or just
yes,
one.
That artist will have all 4 of those bus stops to work with.
In Mallory. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yep. And that's the same for Hickory Hill. They both have 4 bus stops. Yep. Any more questions?
A quick question. In the beginning, you guys said something about portfolio critique. What do we do for that?
For portfolio critique, you pretty much just put together your portfolio of work and schedule with us, as Richard spoke to towards the end and setting up with the project managers. And you would come in and we would basically critique your portfolio with you or help you organize it to be the strongest possible for when you actually do your submission.
Okay, and who do I need to email for that?
You can email any one of us, really, and just kind of schedule a time.
Okay.
Yeah, and then also think about the call that you're applying for. Yeah. So if you want to schedule one for me for Hickory Hill, then you will contact me. And if you want to schedule one for Mallory Heights, you hit up Travis. And like I said, we'll have all of our information towards the end of this call, just so you have phone number, email, all the ways to get in contact with us.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I have a question.
Any other questions? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I noticed that the Mallory Heights project wants comfortable seating. Are we limited to the bench that MATA will provide? Can we add a bench? Can that bench be replaced?
Good question. That will be a question for our structural engineers, because the biggest thing is that and also you got to keep in mind that it's 4 bus stops, right? So thinking about your budget, and so the main thing that we've stressed is that and I know Mallory Heights, that's one of their needs, and so thinking about a way you can enhance what's already there rather than necessarily putting something completely there. And so, like I said, we'll put you in contact with a structural engineer to kind of, and those questions are good. Those ideas are good, because they'll be able to let you know, hey, we can do this, we can't do that, especially because we don't want to impede on ADA accessibility, and we don't want to quote unquote break any rules. So still keep those ideas, keep those possibilities in mind when it comes to presenting. Once you're at the point as a finalist, still keep those things in mind, because we want to be able to get the most out of this project and give the community what they want within the realms of our parameters. So keep that in mind, but also keep in mind that we've been stressing is that
there's some limits.
Yeah, there are limits.
Yeah.
Because I know y'all might have seen some bus shelters be completely transformed, and that's not necessarily what we're doing.
That's not this project. Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, but keep that in mind and keep that question.
Yeah, I have some ideas.
As you get further along.
I also wondered if we could get a higher resolution image of those measurements for the bus shelter. Yeah. Because as it is, I can't read any of the text.
Yeah, we will be sure to get that to you. We have a high resolution file of that. It's also on the call, but it might be small like that on the call as well.
Okay.
So
I'm gonna see if I can maybe download it at a higher
yeah,
res.
but if not, we can send you that individual.
Okay.
Um,
Thank you.
mhm. Yeah, but the biggest thing we want y'all to be concerned of is that it's $65,000 budget, right? So consider that the 1,500 will be taken away due to the three finalists, right? Three finalists submitting their design for to be the selected artists. So consider that the remaining money is for 4 bus stops, right? So those limitations are not only there just for not just for one reason, but think about structural, think about your budget, think about all of those things that come into play when it comes to those 4 individual bus stops and tackling those. So keep that in mind when it comes to this project. Is that you will have the opportunity to get that budget, and that's why we kind of make sure we put that on every slide. But we want y'all to consider it and use it wisely. But yeah, any other questions? Not all at once.
You have questions and maybe you just don't want to ask them in a group setting like such. Once again, I want to push out, feel free to reach out to any one of us individually if there's something that you might want to ask, but even if you can't think of it right now.
Okay, this might be a dumb question.
No such thing.
No dumb question.
What I have not looked at the entire call yet, so it might be in there already, but what time frame is install?
Install. That's a great question. Let's actually. Can we pull up the call? Gabrielle, are you? Because they both share the same timeline, both Mallory Heights and Hickory Hill. Gabrielle, could you possibly pull that up, or give me the access to share my screen?
Put you in charge.
Yes. Hopefully I don't mess it up. All right. So our project timeline, I'll just read it off to you. So we had our virtual information session, that was today. Our RFQ deadline will be August the 2nd. Our finalist notifications will be August 16th. The RFP deadline will be September the 27th. And we have a projected completion celebration for fall 2023. So that should give you just a timeline of how this project is going. So if you haven't applied already, keep those deadlines in mind. Don't be like, and I'm speaking from Travis and our artists, and we have a couple of other artists as well, Gabrielle as well, that are working on staff. We identify with y'all as artists, so don't wait until the night before. Please try to be early and working on things in advance. And like I said, please contact us. If you have any questions, so we can help you, best submit this stuff, because we don't want y'all to say that y'all didn't know anything. We are really open. We have an open platform for y'all to communicate with us. So yeah, that wasn't a stupid question at all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I have a question.
Yeah.
I entered late, so forgive me if you answered this already. When you say your portfolio critiques, if my body of work is paint and sculpture and all around, am I expected to have art that relates to what I'm shooting for with my proposal for the bus shelter, or do you just want to see a variety of of the person's work?
I would say that it'd be important. Let's just say if you and I were talking, right? Let's just have a mock-up. Let's think about what Hickory Hill is asking for, right? And then let's look at your body of work, right? One good thing you've already told me is that, hey, look, I can do this, I can do that, I can do this, right? So now you have options and you're able to show your range as an artist. So what I might want to do is say, hey, look, this is a strong piece, that's a strong piece, and this is how you can best organize this to best, represent yourself as an artist. So I think when I say the more the merrier, I say the more options, the more range. That lets people know that, hey, they might not like that, but they might like this. They might not like that, but they might like this. So you're giving people an option of your diversity. So you kind of, shed a light on how you're going to contribute as far as your portfolio with showing your range of all of various styles or techniques that you do. So keep that in mind. And one thing that we said was, depending on the call, you might want to look at the site-specific information. You might want to look at the project expectations because they're slightly different, right? They're two separate communities. So we got Hickory Hill and we got Mallory Heights. So those are things that you consider and think about. But if you already have the work, that's half the battle right there. I think more than anything, we can sit down and we can look at what particular call you're looking for, and see what may work for it as far as your portfolio. Does that help you out?
Very much so.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Good. Anybody else? That was a good question.
Not a question, maybe a question. You mentioned earlier in the presentation, send you our email, and you would then email us a link to this presentation so we can review it. Is that right?
Yeah. This is currently being recorded right now.
Correct. And if I want to review the recording, I send you my email address.
Yeah. We'll
to UAC.
Yep, UAC, info at uacmem.org, and we'll be sending that out to y'all. And if I'm not mistaken, will this presentation just alone, will they be able to kind of flick through this on their own time without us talking? They should be, yeah, y'all be able to do that as well. So if you don't want to hear my voice, Travis's, or Gabrielle's, you just kind of want to go through and fact check some stuff, you could do that and then email. So that'll be available for y'all as well. Yeah. Well, thank y'all. I don't wanna leave.
Hey, just say goodbye. Thank you. A very good presentation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank y'all for y'all presentation. Thank y'all for showing up.
I just look forward to working with all of y'all, and hopefully all of y'all submit vocal calls.
Please, because I know I would if I could. Yeah.
Have a good day.
All right, y'all. Well, y'all have a good rest of y'all day. Like I said, we have all of our information. It's been dropped in the chat. So if you go through that and review all that information, it has our contacts. It has the projects that we're independently working on. And yeah, I think this was good. So if Travis, you don't have anything else, Gabrielle, you don't have anything else, we'll let y'all go.
Peace and stay cool, y'all. Stay cool.
Please. All right, go.
Thank you, everyone, for participating. Have a great night.